kids, it's me, Toni HomePerm, here with another makeup review video. Well, actually, not a makeup review video. This is actually something in a... I've sort of started a series of it. And of course, you may know it as... Don't I already have that palette? Yes, don't I already have that palette? An idea that came into my head quite a few times when I see a new palette and I look at it, and initially I'm like, ooh, I like the way this palette looks. Maybe I should get it. And then taking a step back and saying to myself, wait a minute, that palette, it looks familiar. Don't I already have that palette? Hence the name of the series, Don't I Already Have That Palette? Now, this is not what you would call an anti-haul. I know a lot of YouTube creators do anti-haul videos, and if you don't know what that is, they were initially started by another drag queen, Kimberly Clark, where she would go through and look at upcoming products, that makeup products that are going to be released, and would look at the pictures and comment on it and say exactly why she wasn't going to buy it. And I'm not telling anyone not to buy anything. If you see something and you love it and you've got the money, by all means, get the palette. Make yourself happy. This is more of an exercise for myself in trying to keep myself from buying palettes that I don't really need. And one thing that every drag queen on Long Island can tell you is they know that Toni HomePerm has a lot of eyeshadow palettes. She doesn't really need any more. But you know what? Sometimes I buy one. But nowadays I'm much more critical and selective of the palettes that I'm going to purchase. With that being said, what I thought I would do is put up some pictures here of a number of palettes that are, some may have already come out, and some are just about to be released, and I'm going to talk about what interested me in the color story, and then I went back and looked at my own collection and realized I already had a palette very similar to it. Now, I'm not saying that the palettes I have are dupes for these particular palettes, but for me, I feel that the color story is similar enough that I don't need this new palette. For me, I feel that in most instances, any look that you could create with these palettes, I could probably create a similar enough look with the palettes that I already own. Now, most of the palettes that I'm going to show you, I saw images of on Trend Mood, and for the most part, that's where the images will be coming from. I'm not taking any credit that the images are mine, so just want to put that out there. And by all means, follow Trend Mood on Instagram, Facebook, wherever they are. Okay, so the first palette I'm going to show you is... I'm gonna look at it on my phone while I'm speaking to you. It's a new P. Louise Cosmetics palette. It's the Stack 'em Up eyeshadow palette. Beautiful, beautiful purple palette, and I love purples. I love pinks. I love so many colors, except really for neutrals. But yeah, but there are some neutrals I like. What can I say? I'm a drag queen. That's what I'm attracted to. Now, of course, when I saw this palette, I initially got the, ooh, those purples, and I was like, you know, I was like thinking, should I order it? Should I buy it? And then I said to myself, don't I already have that palette? So I decided to look in my palette collection, and what did we find here's the first one. Lunar Skies Cosmetics, the Amethyst Moon palette, and here you can see beautiful, beautiful purples. And so, yeah. So I was like, okay, I guess I already filled my purple need. Actually, not just once, but continued to look through the collection. And what else did I find? I found the Moon Slice Beauty Moon Magic palette, And what do we have here? Oh, all those purples that I love, even more than the P. Louise. So, yeah. So once I looked at both of these, I calmed my purple desire down, and I said, okay, we have purple. I don't need the P. Louise palette. And these two fulfill that need. Actually, I have many palettes that could fulfill that need, especially in my some of my rainbow palettes, like the Beauty Bay Bright Mattes or the Blend Bunny Cosmetics Blends palette. I decided, for the sake of this video though, for each one, I'm gonna keep it to 2, maybe 3 palettes at most that I'm going to show you, because I didn't want the video to go on way too long. Okay, the next palette that I saw coming out is the BH Cosmetics and Doja Cat collaboration, and I do like BH Cosmetics. Their reformulated eyeshadows are great. I have many of the Sweet Shop palettes. I love them. But I was looking at the palette, and you know, I do this with almost every palette. I look at it and I'm like, do I want it? Should I order it? But I was looking at it, and you know, I said, let me think. The thing that I'm most interested about in this palette are those darker, grungier colors. And what did I just get? And I actually have a video out that I'll link above, but I already have the Blend Bunny Cosmetics Surge palette, and you can see here the sort of bright and deep, dark, bright colors and grungy colors, and you know, there's even some lighter tones. I was like, okay, this is satisfying me, and I have to say, currently, this is my favorite palette. I love this palette so much. As I said, I did the video just the other day doing a look, and I had a show yesterday in New York City where I performed at the Stonewall Inn, and I did this beautiful grungy look with the pink column, and it was beautiful. So yes, so I said, don't need the Doja Cat palette, and actually, when I was looking at it, I realized that I have another palette, they went to plastic, that fulfills that need too. I have this, the Sensorium Chapter 1 palette from Alexis Flame and Be Perfect Cosmetics. I see many of the same colors in this palette that are in the Doja Cat palette, so I calmed myself down. I said, okay, you don't need that palette. You've got all the colors that you need in here. So I calmed myself down. Also in this BH Cosmetics Doja Cat collection, there were some, I guess they're blush palettes, not interested. There was 2, well actually there's 3 quad palettes. The neutral ones, don't care. The gray tone one, that kind of interested me. And then I said, no, look what we got here. From Colourpop, the Baroque palette. Here's my grays. Okay, I'm good. I don't need any others, and I have many other palettes with grays too. So I'm like, okay, we're good. We don't need it. We're fine. Okay, now the next palette. It's the new Colourpop Hocus Pocus collection for 2021. Now, I did get the Hocus Pocus palette, the Gather Round Sisters palette last year, and I actually did a video on that because it turns out that Colourpop really just repackaged their All I See Is Magic palette. I forget exactly what it was called, and I'll put a link for that up above. I realized after I got the palette that I already had a Colourpop palette that had a very similar color story. Imagine that. Colourpop duping themselves. Who could believe it? So, anyway, the new Hocus Pocus collection, I looked at it, and you know, I love Halloween, I love spooky stuff, and I love Hocus Pocus. And I was looking at it, and I was like, should I? You know, I don't know. And I said, okay, let's look through the collection. What do we have? What do we have? Okay, so then I realized, looking through my collection, I had not just one, but two Halloween themed palettes that had a very similar color story. The first is from Chaotic Cosmetics, the Dreadful palette. This is a palette made by my good friend AJ Bellafiore, aka Ashley Jade, who is the CEO of Chaotic Cosmetics. And I don't want to blind you with the mirror, but here we go. Okay, so looking at the Colourpop new Hocus Pocus palette, it's a little bit purple, it's a little bit green, it's a little bit neutral, some shimmers, and I looked at it, and I looked at my Dreadful palette, and I said, no, okay, I've got everything I need in this, and honestly, this palette is way better than any Colourpop palette any day of the week. So I was like, okay, so there's one, I'm good to go. Now the next Halloween themed palette that I looked at and in my collection and said, okay, definitely don't need the Hocus Pocus palette. The Lunar Beauty Moonspell palette, which I love this palette. It's like the most beautiful palette as far as packaging in my collection. And when we look at the palette and the color story, hope I can show this to you without it blinding that gold. But you know, there's the tealy colors, the purple colors, the neutrally colors, the light shimmers, and the quality of this, again, better than Colourpop. Not that Colourpop is terrible, but I tend to find most indie makeup tends to be better than mainstream brands. It's just the way it is. So yeah, so I saw this and I was like, yeah, okay, I'm good. Definitely don't need the new Hocus Pocus palette. I'm okay. I'm okay. Okay, next we have the Colourpop Plush Like Me palette. And let me tell you, as soon as I saw the picture of it, I immediately knew I already had that palette. That was like a no-brainer. And I pulled it out of my collection. It's no longer available from Colourpop. Quelle surprise. The You Had Me at Hello palette. But we're going to open it up. And look, there we go. Those browny, maroony, burgundy deep tones and the light shimmers. Yeah, very, very Colourpop. So Colourpop. Yeah, I saw this and I said, okay, definitely don't need Plush Like Me. I've already got that palette from Colourpop. And not just in one palette, not just in one, but also in another Colourpop palette, Wine and Only. Yes, who would have thought a burgundy palette from Colourpop? But there we go. Yes, Wine and Only. Yeah, I've got those same colors, so I'm good. No, thank you, Colourpop. I'm okay. I'm okay. Oh, and I did find a third that I saw in my collection. I said, that also kind of looks like the Plush Like Me palette, and it's actually just a little Wet n Wild Halloween palette. I think this was part of the Halloween collection 2 years ago, but yeah, you know, there's your dark burgundies and neutrally tones and $4.99, and I'm sure I could make some similar looks to the Colourpop palette with this. So I'm good. Okay, next, another Colourpop. Who would imagine? And I'm not rating on Colourpop. I have a lot of Colourpop palettes that, you know, I'm very happy with. It's just that they release so much. I guess they can't help but sort of repeat color stories. But it doesn't mean I have to purchase all of them. And neither do you if you don't want to. However, if you do, by all means, go ahead. I'm not stopping you. So, the Sonic Bloom palette. Kind of a neutral pop of pink, pop of burgundy. It's such a typical Colourpop palette. And, you know, I looked at it and I was like, yeah, I probably wouldn't have bought this one anyway. But I went through my collection, and what did I find? From Colourpop, the Midnight Masquerade. And there it is. And we can see the burgundy and the bluish and the shimmery colors. So, yeah, close enough to the Sonic Bloom for me that I don't need it. And then it hit me. As I was looking at it more and more, I was like, wait, don't I have another palette that kind of reminds me of the Sonic Bloom? And it was the Gather Round Sisters palette. Yeah, the one that's, you know, they redid the All I See Is Magic palette and created this one. But, you know, here it is, the Gather Round Sisters. And what do we have? The burgundy tones and the shimmers and some of the darker tones. And I was like, yeah, this is close enough to Sonic Bloom. Now, of course, as I said before, none of these, I'm not saying any of these are exact dupes for these palettes that I'm showing. I'm merely commenting that they have a similar enough color story for me that I don't need to buy that one. And definitely for me, that's the case with these. Okay, next is the Glam Light Dirty Martini palette. And I looked at it and I was like, I was a little tempted. Now, I already have a Glam Light palette that's Martini themed, the Juicy Olive palette. Now, this one really doesn't have a color story similar to the Glam Light palette. This is really just those beautiful grungy greens and greeny gold shimmers, but it's Glam Light. The quality is excellent. So I love this palette. It's one of my favorite green palettes, but not a similar color story to the Dirty Martini palette. However, I did find my Moonslice Beauty Emerald Moon palette. When I open this up, here we go, and there it is, our green tones and even those sort of chartreusey colors, even leaning a little bit blue, a little bit brown. And I said, okay, this pretty much does it. I'm close enough to that color story that I'm satisfied. So there we go. Oh, and I also did find another Wet n Wild palette. This is from one of their Halloween collections. This one actually has a name, Mummy of the Year. And let me open it up. And there we go. Green, brown, shimmery colors. I'm like, okay, it's giving me those Dirty Martini palette vibes. Not quite as close, but for me, it's close enough. I'm good. Thanks. Okay, next we have the Morphe Cherry Coke palette. And I have to say the packaging is really nice for Morphe. Some people have commented that they've kind of duplicated the Too Faced packaging. Not a bad thing. I mean, Too Faced is known for their packaging. So, and I think everybody's tired of those big black Morphe palettes. They've kind of gotten away from them anyway. But yeah, I saw this palette and I was like, it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice. But you know, we went hunting in our makeup collection, and I'm so sorry to have to admit this, but this palette I've never even used. Also from Morphe, in collaboration with Jaclyn Hill, the Volume 2. And what do we have when we open her up? Look at this section. Those reds and brownish reds, sort of pinky tones, neutrally tones. You know, really, you just have to take out sort of those purples and yellows, and well, no, even some of those lighter tones work. But yeah, I'm like, okay, I've got all those colors, and it's already it's from Morphe, so I don't need the Cherry Coke palette. So I was done with that. Until then, I also saw I had this little beauty glazed berry palette, and it goes a little bit more purple, but for the most part, a very similar color story to the Cherry Coke palette. Doesn't quite go as brown, but if I want that, I've got the Jaclyn Hill Volume 2. So, okay, so no Cherry Coke palette for me. Okay, another Morphe palette. They're doing a collaboration with Sour Patch Kids. That's candy. I never really liked the candy anyway. So, but it's kind of a colorful neon-ish with some darker tones. Cute packaging, but yeah, I looked at it and I said, okay, what do we have? What do we have? And another Chaotic Cosmetics palette. This is the Double Scoop palette. So when I opened it up, I said, oh yeah, there's everything I need. There's, you know, like the green, the yellow, the red, the orange, the blue. You know, it even goes a little deeper, like with the brown tone. So, by the way, this is not the first time Colourpop has done a color story similar to my friends over at Chaotic Cosmetics palette. So, they did the same thing with the Malibu Barbie palette. But I digress. Anyway, yeah, so this palette, I was like, okay, don't need Sour Patch Kids. This is good. I also found from Ruby May Cosmetics the Pop Zombie palette, a little bit more concise because it's only 9 pans, but I think in a way that's better. Sometimes these giant palettes, it's too much, and they repeat themselves with shades. But as far as like all those really bright colors, there's the, you know, your yellow, the green, the blue, the orange. So I looked at the Sour Patch, I looked at this, and I said, okay, I'm good. I already have it. Okay, next we have the Colourpop Or Kid You Not. Groan, dad joke. Okay, it's sort of a, well, the packaging looks more purple than the actual colors in the palette. It's strange. But anyway, it's sort of purplish, maroonish, and slightly purplish. And I already showed you this one, the Moon Slice Beauty Moon Magic. But really, you know, this side of the palette, those burgundy colors, yeah, I'm like, okay, close enough. I don't need the Or Kid You Not. I've got so many like it, and I think even the other Colourpops palettes that I already showed you would be close enough to that as well. So definitely don't need it. I already have that palette. Okay, now this palette from Profusion, from their Mean Girls collection. This is the big palette, the North Valley High Yearbook palette. And by the way, I just did a review of 2 of the small palettes that they have, the Regina and the Gretchen palette, which are like 9-pan palettes. I'll put a link to those up above. I did a review and a look with those. But this big palette, as soon as I saw this one, I already knew. I had so many palettes like this one. So the first one that came to mind was the Glam Light Cake palette. Now, when we open this up, let me get the mirror out of the way. Yeah, it's so similar as far as those bright colors, like the raspberry and the greens and the orangey tones, and you know, this is Glam Light. no shades of profusion, but Glam Light shadows are definitely going to be a little bit better than profusion. I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, so definitely didn't need that big palette. I already have everything I need in the Glam Light palette. And not just the Glam Light palette, I also found my Morphe Pride palette from a couple years back when we opened this up. Here we have very similar colors to it, and I don't even know if I've ever used this palette. I need to do a series where I use a palette that I've owned for a long time and never used it, which is why I'm trying to be very critical and selective about buying any new palettes and bringing them into the collection, because there's so many I still haven't used, including this one. So yeah, camera cut out on me. I hate when that happens. So yeah, so I've got this palette from Morphe, and with the Glam Light Cake palette, I definitely don't need that big profusion palette. Okay, now this one. This one is, I'm sorry, this is a little sad. Okay, Urban Decay is coming out with a collaboration with Marvel for the Eternals movie. This is their Eternals palette. It's sad. Urban Decay used to be so loved. Everyone was so crazy about Urban Decay back in the day. And it seems that ever since they were bought out by Cody, I believe, that, you know, the quality is just, it's gone downhill. It's not what it used to be. Anyway, here we've got their Eternals palette, which is basically a very neutral palette with a little bit of color, and okay, so I went looking through, you know, some of my most boring palettes, and I'm sure, you know, because it's Urban Decay, it's going to be quite pricey. And one of the palettes in my collection that I felt would be a good color story dupe for it is this Wet n Wild 32 pan palette, which it has a sticker on $15, but I don't think I even paid that. And there's no mirror on it. But here we go. You know, here's all your light and neutrally tones, and it's a little bit blue, and it's a little bit green, and it's a little bit maroon, and yeah, it's basically the same story as Urban Decay's Eternals palette, which it's sad. It's sad that and this is not a new palette, so it's just kind of depressing that was the best that Urban Decay could do for the Eternals palette, which, you know, it's about, you know, superheroes. It's a Marvel's movie, and that's what they're giving us. I also found another palette that I thought very similar, and it's an e.l.f. palette, the 18 Hit Wonders palette. And I mean, look, this actually, the colorful colors are actually a little bit more intense than the Urban Decay, but color story is basically the same, neutral with some, you know, colorful pans thrown in, blue, green, maroonish, orangey, and neutrals. I mean, so yeah, that was the best that Urban Decay could do, I guess. Actually, as I was looking at it, I said, well, you know, they could have done that color story better. And I came across in my collection a palette that I looked at, and I said, you know what, if they were going to do something like that, they could have done it better, and Beauty Bay already did. This is the Beauty Bay Book of Magic palette, another great palette. But if you look at the interior of this, I mean, to me, this is what the Eternals palette should have looked like. You know, if I can understand they want a few neutrals, but you know, like the tan sort of color, the blues, sort of greenish blue, little purple. I mean, if you ask me, this is what the Eternals palette should have been. It should have looked like this. So there you have it. There are all the palettes that I looked at and said to myself, don't I already have that palette? And I proved it to myself that, yeah, I have a palette similar enough to these new ones that I'm okay, so I'm not going to be buying any of those. Not that I don't buy new palettes. I actually have 2 new palettes that I'm going to be getting soon. One is on the way. It's the Odin's Eye palette in collaboration with Annette's Makeup, the Giant Wolves palette, and it's on its way from Europe, and I can't wait to get it and play with it. And I have the Brainwash palette from my good friend Ashley Jade from her company, Chaotic Cosmetics, and I'm hoping to receive that soon, and I'm going to be doing videos on those. But all these other palettes, no, I don't need them. I'm good. I'm happy. It's fine. It's fine. So that's all I have to say about those. So I hope that you enjoyed this little review video of mine, this little mental exercise. Sorry that I'm not doing a look today. I have a doctor's appointment this afternoon, and I don't think they would appreciate me showing up in full drag. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they would, but you know, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. So yeah. So today it was just a little mental exercise of looking through my palettes and stating the fact to myself that, you know, I already have that palette, so I don't need this other palette. If you enjoyed this video, please, please, please subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, hit the notification bell. You know, I always, you know, dream that someday I might, you know, have like a successful YouTube channel. I probably never will. So, but it's not for lack of trying, so, you know, give me a break, okay? Of course, you can always catch my Naughty or Nice show that streams here on my channel and also on the Alexis and Toni channel. It's the internet variety show, which I should remember that's what I need to call it, that I do with Alexis Flame, New York City legendary drag queen, and that streams twice a month. And you know, we also throw in some specials. We've got a lot of exciting stuff planned for Halloween. That's hence my new fall background. And of course, there is my weekly podcast that I do with my good friend Tom Cat. God'll Get You For That Walter, which also streams here and on the God'll Get You For That Walter page or YouTube channel. And I'll have all the links listed down below. That's the podcast that we do where we review the 1970s sitcom Maude, which starred Bea Arthur, long before she was Dorothy on The Golden Girls. So again, thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you again soon in the next one. Bye-bye.